I just think Trump knows that he cannot do much about Russia, but I think it's all a theater that he's playing because there is huge pressure on Trump inside the United States. I just came back from US, from actually constituencies in Texas and Oklahoma who voted for Trump 90%. They are very unhappy about how Trump handles Russia. And therefore, he needs to show them something, that he needs to show that he's trying, that he's just not doing nothing.
We're going to get more on that story. The plans for President Trump and President Putin to meet have been called off. The Kremlin apparently rejected an American ceasefire proposal. Let's get more on this from Olena Tregub, who is Secretary General of Nako, which is a Ukrainian defense and security think tank. Good evening to you, Olena.
Yes, good evening.
What do you make of the fact that this summit between Presidents Trump and Putin is off for now, at least?
Well, it's not surprising at all because even when it was announced that Putin and Trump were going to meet in Budapest in Ukraine, among Ukrainians who are, of course, tracking those developments on a minute-by-minute basis now, they were not even surprised that this meeting was called off because everybody saw it as another tactic of Putin to, create some fake process where people were saying that there is some real deal happening now, that maybe for real now there will be some concessions on the Russian side. There will be now a real meeting, unlike the one in Alaska. And, some people in Ukraine, some politicians, especially from the opposition party, they started running around the parliament and saying, hey, the war is maybe over in November and maybe we'll have election. But majority of population and expert community, everybody said that there will be absolutely nothing. Putin has no incentive to finish this war. Trump doesn't have any leverage over Putin. Trump doesn't want to use any significant leverage. And therefore, the war will continue. And there will be no peace process, only the imitation.
We have heard that President Zelensky's last meeting with President Trump descended into a shouting match with maps being thrown around. I mean, how concerned are you that President Trump may have been swayed too much by President Putin's view of the war and how it can be brought to an end?
Well, I think that the views of Trump, they have not changed much about this war. He thinks that he can somehow broker some deal. However, the more time passes, the more he realizes that he probably, like he said to the journalist yesterday, it's more difficult than you think. It's actually pretty difficult. He understands it. He understood now after meeting with Putin in Alaska that Putin is the one who thinks about historical legacy, about Putin becoming like the emperor, like Catherine II, Peter the Great, and Vladimir Putin, who brought another nation into orbit of Russian Empire by force. And he was lecturing Trump about Russian history. So Trump already understood all of that. And this is why I don't think that this call with Putin changed that much. I just think Trump knows that he cannot do much about Russia. But I think it's all a theater that he's playing because there is huge pressure on Trump inside the United States. I just came back from US, from actually constituencies in Texas and Oklahoma who voted for Trump 90%. They are very unhappy about how Trump handles Russia. And therefore, he needs to show them something, that he needs to show that he's trying, that he's just not doing nothing.
Well, we are hearing that the plans collapsed after a call between Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, and Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister. And it is apparently because the Kremlin was refusing to budge from its original position, which doesn't seem to have changed pretty much since the start of this process, if we can describe it as such. I mean, do you think that perhaps the fact that this summit has been called off, that Trump is not going to meet him, is perhaps a sign that President Trump does realise that President Putin is not interested in backing off, that he does simply want to try and control the whole of those 4 provinces of Ukraine, which Russia has claimed as Russian territory. Do you think that perhaps it could be a sign that perhaps President Trump is starting to harden his view against President Putin?
I can ask you the same question. Was Alaska summit failure and humiliation, where Trump got nothing out of Putin? Was it a sign? Did Trump realize after Alaska that there was nothing that he will get out of Putin? We also hoped, remember, at that time. Now we hope maybe now finally he did realize. So my opinion is that he realized probably a long time ago, but he needs to now time to basically he is trying to give more time to Russia, and I think he is not prepared to act against Russia. He is not prepared to actually show this realization. It's one thing to say different harsh words against Russia. Another thing is to do any action. We see the words from Trump from time to time, but we do not see any action from Trump. And the sanctions have not been imposed, some serious sanctions, which their Congress is preparing and his party is preparing. Now Congress is calling again for those sanctions. Their serious missiles, Tomahawk missiles, were not provided. No serious assistance was provided. Just the same level of assistance is provided. The intelligence sharing is provided. So that's very important. That's good, but it has been in place before. So we do not see this realization in action yet, unfortunately.
Olena Tregub from the Ukrainian defence and security think tank Nako. Great to talk to you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. President, the meeting with Vladimir Putin is canceled or put on hold. Do you know what happened there, and does that affect your decision whether or not to send Tomahawks?
No, I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens. But we did all of these great deals, great peace deals. They're all peace deals. They're agreements, solid agreements, every one of them. But this one, and I said, go to the line of battle, the battlefield lines, and you pull back and you go home, and everybody takes some time off, because you got 2 countries that are killing each other. You got 2 countries that are losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week. So we'll see what happens. We haven't made a determination.